Hello, I'm Jim Lampley. Welcome to this look back at the stories behind Bowe Golota, which for its own reasons ranks as one of the most memorable fights in 30 years of boxing on HBO. In this case, it's worth noting, memorable need not mean great fight. What made this Madison Square Garden night unforgettable was something totally unforeseen. A moment when a volatile mix of circumstances in and out of the ring lit a match and touched off an explosion. This ring has been stormed by thugs and hooligans. Impossible to imagine what's going to be done to restore order here, but right now there are no police in sight.
Chaos. A riot at Madison Square Garden on July 11, 1996. It came on the heels of a beating suffered by Riddick Bowe in his hometown. It came after Andrew Golota was disqualified for fouling. It was a short, steep fall from grace for the man who just 4 years earlier defeated Evander Holyfield for the title.
And new heavyweight champion of the world, Riddick Big Daddy Bowe!
In 3 epic bouts with Holyfield, the Brownsville, Brooklyn native was willing to take punishment to become a giant among giants.
I've had some great ones, Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, Larry Holmes, and I said, you have potential to become the greatest heavyweight I ever had, and that's saying a whole lot.
He was long, he was strong, he could move, he could also fight inside, which was peculiar for such a big guy. He had a great uppercut. He had all the physical tools.
What Bowe didn't have was the same dedication to remain champion as he had had to become champion. His Hall of Fame trainer, Eddie Futch, had seen it coming.
He had some doubts as to whether or not he would discipline himself and not let himself disintegrate in between fights.
He loved the idea of the trappings of success. He hated the process of preparing to be great.
And I felt like, I worked so hard where I could enjoy myself, and that's what I did. You only live once.
Futch's worst fears were founded. Bowe lost the title to Holyfield in their second fight when he entered the ring at 246 pounds, 11 pounds more than the night he won the title. He would be champion only once for 1 year.
Riddick Bowe was starting to squander the enormous physical talents that he had. Even though he won the third Holyfield fight, he won primarily because Holyfield just got tired and he was able to knock him out.
It had to do with him living badly and weight fluctuations, 50, 60, 70-pound swings. And that yo-yo effect over time eroded his reflexes and hurt his skills.
Hoping to get another title shot, Bowe was matched with an underestimated opponent, Andrew Golota, for a homecoming tune-up. In part because he didn't take Golota seriously, Bowe found himself faced with a serious opponent.
I just thought they're sticking him up against the opponent just to keep him busy until the whole thing with Mike Tyson can eventually be set up.
I just looked at it as if it was a payday. I thought 2, 3 rounds we would be going home.
If he was always going to go up and down the scale, sooner or later he would pay a price for that. But you didn't necessarily suspect that it was going to come against a guy like Golota.
In the same 1988 Olympics in which Bowe won a silver medal, Andrew Golota of Poland won a bronze. Like most fighters, he had had a rough start in life and found an escape in boxing. He was big, strong, athletic, and wild.
He was raised in a ghetto part of Warsaw in Poland with a lot of crime going on. He is known to be a street guy.
Golota came to America in 1990 in an effort to avoid prosecution. He settled in Chicago, the city with the largest Polish population outside of Warsaw.
He was involved in brawl in a bar, supposedly gun involved, and he was afraid he will go to jail. He basically escaped from Poland.
Chicago was a place where Andrew Golota could find, friends, where he could find some employment or some kind of support.
When he came to the States, he said, my boxing career is over. I want to be a truck driver. And this was his dream, just to have an 18-wheeler and just go to Arizona.
But fighting was what he did best. He went to a gym and turned pro.
He
He was hoping in the beginning, it's just, you know, temporary thing, boxing. I will just earn maybe a couple of bucks, will be fine, and then I will be a businessman. But then his career started to progress.
Main Events, which promoted Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis, signed Golota. 4 years later, the 6'4", 240-pound Golota was unbeaten and largely unknown. Still a work in progress.
He's 25-0. He's starting to get some recognition. He's a big white guy. You know, there's an appeal there. And he wasn't just a white guy. I mean, he was a white guy that could fight.
Big, good-looking guy, strong guy, could punch, you know, could fight, could do it all, you know.
Golota seemed like an ideal opponent for Bowe. Good, but not too good. As an added bonus, the match boasted two big men with controversial tendencies.
There's the bell, and now some extra work. Oh, a little kickboxing by Elijah Tillery. Bowe won't stand for that. Rock Newman, the manager of Riddick Bowe, and a tag team comes in.
Rock wasn't going to have Elijah kicking Riddick, injuring him, and then throwing him off for a year or two.
During his rematch with Evander Holyfield, Bowe's crew also imposed street justice on the infamous Fan Man.
There's a massive melee at ringside. Rock Newman, Riddick Bowe's manager, was right there.
We was like, hold up, you know, this guy's fucking us up.
How does this stuff find us? It was just utter chaos. All you could do was to try to react to it as best you could.
Rock is confrontational. Rock is from the politics of engagement, not from the politics of contemplation.
Golota did his own dirty work.
Golota had a reputation as being a guy who occasionally lost control. It was a biting incident in a fight.
Golota in deep trouble.
The referee comes up, your man bit the other fighter. Andrew, did you bite the guy? Andrew looked at us and he said, I had to bite the motherfucker.
Given his background as a street kid from Warsaw, he would reveal himself in the ring, where you can't hide from who you are.
I don't think he does it intentionally. I think something goes in his mind and he blanks out. Here's the Nicholson fight. He's winning every round. He's got the guy under control. He's hurting him. But yet, because it was going into the later rounds, he headbutted the guy. He does not know how to handle pressure.
Prior to refereeing the fight, several people in the boxing business had warned me of his reputation with the low blows, hitting behind the head, biting, etc. And Luduva, Rock Newman, also had a reputation of being excitable. So I had quite a bit of concerns going into that fight.
The recipe for disaster was in place on July 11th, 1996, in the heart of New York City.
Prior to the fight, we entered the dressing room of each fighter, and I went to Andrew Golota, and I said, Andrew, I don't want any of that stuff going on tonight. And he just looked me right in the eye, and he said, I do what I have to do to win.
When we walk into the arena, first thing I noticed was I didn't notice police officers. I didn't see NYPD.
The crowd was much more frenzied than I expected for a fight most people in boxing had very low expectations of.
Boxing has always been an ethnic-oriented sport. There had been no Polish, serious heavyweight in the memory of man, and here he was, and his supporters stood and roared.
Brownsville people had started problem with the white people from Poland. The people from Brownsville didn't like the red and white flags being flown in their faces.
Almost half of the stadium were Polak, and they had flags, and they were ready to fight before the fight started.
People don't need to wear jerseys. When one fighter is white and Polish and the other fighter is black and from Brownsville.
With that energy in there, it's like a bomb just waiting to go off.
From the start, it was clear that Golota had the size and the skill to compete with Bowe.
This is the first guy I ever fought that could hit me with a jab at will. It surprised me and threw me off.
Just about everyone in press row was expecting Bowe to go through the guy pretty easily. And all of a sudden, I remember Golota out-jabbing him, really out-jabbing him.
And Bowe may be surprised, Jim, that a guy is out-jabbing him.
I remember, as the rounds went on, turning to a writer next to me and saying, this guy looks like Jack Dempsey.
The volatile Garden crowd was stunned by Golota's success against Bowe. but it was the Pole's inability to control his punches that turned the situation explosive.
First, there was a shock that Golota was so clearly superior to Bowe. Then there's the shock that he's hitting him low, and he keeps hitting him low. What the hell's going on here?
Next time it's a point. Last warning.
Wayne Kelly stops and warns him. No point deducted so far. And Wayne Kelly is going to have to give Bowe a timeout. There's a point deducted from each of the 3 scorecards.
1 point. You got 5
This was a
minutes.
bad low blow foul.
You got 5 minutes.
But when he came to the corner, I said, look, we got this fight won. Do not hit him in the body anymore.
Keep look. You're going to lose another point.
And now another low blow.
1 point.
And Golota has lost a second point. And Harold, what comes next?
Jim, the thing that comes next, without question, is a disqualification. I mean, I don't know how much of this Wayne Kelly's going to put up with.
It just seemed unfathomable that he was going to give away this easy victory, but you had to observe the inevitability that it was probably going to happen.
I looked him right in the eyes and I said, Andrew, if you hit him low one more time, it's over. Do you understand that? And he said, yes, I do. Walked out there, hit him low.
That was another low blow. Down goes Bowe, and that's it.
That's it. Great.
It's a disqualification.
It's time to someone that understands that you're going to have to keep the rules in this business.
And now there's a fight in the ring that's been started by some of Bowe's handlers who went after Lou Duva, and somebody's going to get hurt in there.
I remember a guy from Bowe's camp jumping into the mix and started to tomahawk Golota.
I wasn't going in there to hit Golota until I felt like I was assaulted.
And there are more people trying to go in. And security.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. They'll stop it. Don't come. Get back. Go back where you'll see the tongue. Get on back now.
My microphone got knocked off my head.
Don't do it, son. Don't do
There's
that.
danger all over the place here. This is a very desperate situation. Lou Duva's in trouble. Lou Duva's in trouble on the ring mat.
When he was on the ground, he was getting kicked. He was getting punched. 70-year-old man, he was helpless.
First thing I thought is, oh my God, Lou's died in there, right in the middle of all this craziness in the ring, but he clearly wasn't conscious.
Duva's being taken out on a gurney right now, and we hope that they can get it through the crowd.
And they had about 4 or 5 guys carrying it, and they were turning me over, turning me. I said, for Christmas' sake, it's safer to go back in the ring and fight. You guys are killing me over here, you know?
4 minutes after Golota was attacked, Duva was taken to the hospital for observation. The violence in the garden was spreading.
George Foreman trying to be the peacemaker. What are you doing? What are you doing, guy? What are you going to accomplish in there?
I don't know if it was racial, but it felt sort of tribal. It felt like what I imagine a soccer riot could be like.
People were getting hit over the head with chairs. People were getting stomped on.
It's flaring up again now behind us. Another riot. Guys jumping over
These riots
chairs.
and fights are breaking out at ringside.
At that point, I realized, well, if I stay here, I'm not going to be able to report much longer because this whole setup is bound to come apart. And I just dumped off my headset and ran up one section in Madison Square Gardens to deliver a little bit broader perspective on what was going on.
And I've never been involved in a more personally terrifying situation than that one. This ring has been stormed by thugs and hooligans. Obviously, emotions were flowing high on both sides.
You expect that in a matter of a minute or two, the powers that be are going to get it organized and cleared up. Well, there were no powers that be, were there?
It was the desire of Madison Square Garden to provide their own security. And of course, since it's a private arena, unless you're invited in, you can't be there.
In the beginning, there was no security at all. There was a couple of guys in their 60s trying to stop guys in their 20s.
I was actually at home. I was watching TV, and a flash came across the TV that there was a riot going on in Madison Square Garden. So I called my security detail, and I responded.
Some 15 minutes after Golota was attacked, Safer's security force finally arrived.
It was worse than I thought it would be, and my biggest concern was that we had not been notified in a timely manner.
Order was restored some 23 minutes after the fight ended.
Ross Greenberg, producing from the truck, said to me, okay, I think we've covered this. Offer whatever personal comment you want to make, and then take us off the air. Something about that phrase just triggered the recognition. By the way, I've got a teenage daughter in here somewhere. I'm going to go find her. That became the personal comment.
Situation. Myself, I got a 16-year-old daughter in here somewhere, and I'm looking to be sure that she's safe.
This morning, the New York police summoned Bowe's manager to this precinct headquarters a block from the Garden. He was ordered to review the videotapes and identify anybody from Bowe's camp involved in the fighting.
I remember just being so personally angry with Golota that, you know, I went into the ring and screamed at him. 10 seconds later, the ring was full. Now, history has it that I started a riot.
And now the number of arrests are up to 10. The police are reviewing the videotapes with boxing officials and will make further arrests based on an analysis of the videotapes.
In all, 22 people were injured and 14 arrests were made, including Jason Harris, a member of the Bowe security staff. Harris, it turned out, had a record of violence, including the Fan Man incident, when his weapon of choice had been a walkie-talkie. He was given a 5-year suspended sentence.
Oh, I paid my dues. I was in the middle of being investigated for a police department. You know, when I got back, my investigator called me and said, Jason, sorry.
The turmoil overshadowed the fact that despite the victory, Bowe had been battered. A rematch would be big. It was set for 5 months later in Atlantic City. This time, Golota's trainers concentrated on Bowe's belt line.
So the punches are going to be coming up here. They're going to be hitting him on the chin. They're going to be hitting him in the chest. They're going to be hitting him in the body. They're going to hit me there. Over here, we've taught Andrew to keep away. This is a no zone over here.
Bowe, dedicated now, shed 50 pounds in 8 weeks and appeared to be in championship form at 235 pounds.
He embarrassed me. He did all the things to me that I should have did to him. I wanted to redeem myself.
What Bowe and others didn't know at the time was that the 29-year-old's body couldn't overcome years of pounding and abuse. And the only championship part of him left was his heart. From the opening bell, he looked lethargic in the ring.
It soon became apparent that he was a spent force. That first fight was not just a matter of conditioning. He was an old fighter before he got old.
He proceeded to hammer Bowe with the most continuous assortment of power punches that any heavyweight has ever had to take in a big fight. All the courage that Riddick had shown against Holyfield in the first fight, here it was again, as he was taking ridiculous punishment all around the ring from pillar to post, sometimes landing back.
Riddick Bowe fighting with a nothing-to-lose attitude now. And Golota stumbles. Andrew Golota's never been knocked down, but he will be in a few seconds.
After losing a point for intentional headbutting, Golota lost control of himself and his punches again in the fourth.
Low blows by Golota, and Eddie Cotton will pull him away.
All right, look, that's your first warning for low blows. All right, look. That's your first for low blows. Your first warning, no more, okay? Come on.
A fighter who simply cannot stop himself from throwing low blows.
Disbelief. I couldn't believe I was seeing the same thing again.
I want all straight punches. And goddamn it, step the jab in. No more body punches. You gotta go to the head with this guy. Uppercuts and go to the head with this guy.
Even with 2 points now deducted from his score, Golota continued his onslaught.
That's a knockdown. That's another knockdown.
Golota received another warning in the 6th round.
And now Eddie Cotton's gonna warn Golota for rabbit punching.
Late in the 9th round, he went back to it again. And the last two was a combination way below the belt.
Low blows, and down goes Bowe again.
Yeah, that's it. He's calling the fight over. He's disqualified Golota again.
He was willing to fight hands down. But because he's an idiot, he got himself disqualified. He didn't want to be there.
I felt sad for him. I felt sad for Riddick. I felt sad for us that a potentially glorious event had once again become this strange atrocity.
Ludovic, give us your assessment of the fight.
Well, I don't know what to say. I really don't. I'm going to sit down with Andrew and say, look, do you want to be a fighter or don't you want to be a fighter? If you don't want to be the fighter that fights in the ring and fights the right way, then you better go look for a championship of a tough man contest in a bar or something like that, because it's not going to happen.
Andrew Golota would have 3 more chances at redemption. Against Lennox Lewis, Golota would be KO'd in the first round. Against Michael Grant, Golota would quit during the 10th round.
You want to fight? You want to fight? You want to fight? He's saying no. He said he didn't want to fight.
And after 2 rounds with Mike Tyson, Golota quit the fight and boxing.
When I was trying to put that mouthpiece in his mouth, I should have shoved it up his ass. I said to him, Andrew, don't do this to yourself. And then he didn't want to know nothing. He pushed me away.
Whatever demon it was that forced Andrew Golota to do those things in the ring, he couldn't stop it. He had no control.
Currently, Golota lives in Chicago and is facing criminal charges for a melee outside a hotel in Poland in November of 2002. For Bowe, who took way too many clean blows in big fights, his days as a fighter were also over.
His reflexes and responses weren't quite what I would have expected, especially somebody that's 28 years old.
If you look at Riddick's speech pattern from the Holyfield-Bowe era.
You underestimate my stamina, my punching power. You know, Bert Cooper knocked Evander Fell in the ropes, I knocked him down.
To the Bowe-Golota era. It's totally different.
I mean, you look at it like this guy's Golota somewhat, you know, fresh. He hasn't had as many fights, so therefore he don't get his time. But as soon as fatigue set in a little bit, that's when he started hitting me low.
One of the major hallmark symptoms of chronic brain injury is personality changes, aggressive behavior, problems in someone's personal life.
1 month after the second Golota fiasco, Bowe made a strange decision.
Well, I'm not retiring, and I'm not going to announce my next fight until after I do something else. And that something else is join the United States Marine Corps.
For a guy who had trouble training for a fight worth tens of millions of dollars, how the hell is this guy going to go to Paris Island and wake up for reveille?
Bowe's first day of Marine Corps training was February 18th, 1997. He would be a civilian again just 3 days later.
I didn't expect the drill instructors to give me such a hard time.
Returning to civilian life wasn't easy for Bowe. A string of domestic disputes resulted in a separation from his wife, Judy.
She left and took the kids down to North Carolina. I kind of felt like a part of me died. And what good was I?
I got a call from one of Judy's nieces to say that Bowe had come and he had taken the family.
What people must understand is that what I did, I'm not proud of it, but I did it out of love.
Bowe pled guilty to interstate domestic violence, and in November of 2002 was sentenced to at least 18 months in prison. In a sentencing hearing, his defense team claimed that injuries to his brain from boxing were partly to blame for his decision-making.
This is a different Riddick Bowe than that fresh, young, big, bear of a guy who first fought Evander.
You know what? God has a way of humbling you. And perhaps, you know, somewhere along the line I did something, or maybe I was somewhat snobbish and he wanted to bring me back down to earth.
Riddick Bowe is a tragic figure in boxing. To become a champion and not to be able to deal with success, and then to suffer some physical and probably mental damage, his whole life falling apart. It doesn't get more graphic than that.
Though he was only 29, these were Riddick Bowe's last 2 fights. In the first, he showed how the accumulated effects of his sloth had diminished his abilities. But in the second, he reminded us of the gallantry he had shown in taking the title from Evander Holyfield just 4 years before. Bowe fought with extraordinary courage, even as his career was vanishing round by round. Andrew Golota was just the latest of many to prove you need more than physical talent to become a boxing champion. Thanks for watching. the tale of Bowe Golota.